Greetings, everybody. Keith here. Hoping everybody's having a good day, enjoying life, living life, loving life. Want to remind everybody, hit the like, share, and subscribe button for me. There's a PayPal link down there for anybody that wants to share some love, and of course, the StreamYard link for anybody that wants to join the panel. Here the last few weeks, we've been doing Sunday nights. We've been going over indemnification. And we're going to do so again, titled Understanding Indemnification in the U.S. And as we've talked in the past, it's a matter of that, in my opinion, of course, from my research again, as I put forth, the birth certificate being a security instrument in bond form. And we have to attach a handwritten certification or handwritten statement for certification of indemnification, transferring that security. So I ran across a video just not too long before the stream was going to start. So we're going to start out by reviewing that video first. And so here, oops, I did it again. So here we have, what is a security interest? Secured party. And we're going to take a look at this. This is from Awesome Products. She's got 6.32 thousand subscribers. It was put out 21 hours ago. Secured party creditor, secured interest. And this is what we've been talking about, is the interest on the obligation as it goes to the United States on their account for full acquittance and discharge, discharge debt. What is a security interest? What is a debtor and creditor or a secured party?
Hi, so you know about the security interest, so you might be asking, where's my security interest? So basically what happened is when you signed any documents, you were basically pledging your security interest.
And your security interest is in the fact that you are warranting that the information that you are giving is true and accurate, when in fact we find out it's not, when we learn the true definitions of those terms and conditions of those contracts. This is why it's important to recognize the third party benefactor,
So
and the fact that it's a trust.
the reason why, and there's really, it's kind of like they're usually at.
Greetings, Joe. How you doing tonight, brother?
I'm doing well, taking a little break, and I haven't been watching, so if it's all right, I want to listen a little bit, catch up. I haven't been watching.
You bet. No problem. No problem. Right. Just stop me anytime something doesn't make sense. I'm sure you will.
Adhesion contract. So you basically signed an adhesion contract.
It starts out as an implied contract, and once you sign it, it becomes an adhesion contract.
Copy that.
So basically what it is that they already wrote everything in there. So,
and this is, again, because we're not qualifying our position as it relates to that contract as a third party. There's a contract that's already in play, and they need some data elements, and they need to consult with us. We are data consultants, literally.
So they already set it up to where they're taking the security interest. So you have to reassign it or transfer it. And
this is what happens with the state's blue sky security laws. Again, if the United States is obligated under 18 U.S.C. 8 for obligations and other securities of the United States, and it starts out with 3 words, includes all bonds. That adhesion is a type of bond. It's synonymous with some type of bond. That's why it's called adhesion. Glue is an adhesion used to adhese one piece of something to another. the same thing.
Your remedy, it's going to be a legal remedy. So you have to learn how to write the letters and look up how to do that, basically.
You're going to have to learn how they use those contracts. That means you have to learn the contract terms and conditions and the various different clauses they use. And I urge everybody to understand that if it's a contract, there's an implied arbitration clause, meaning that it's not a matter of filing a suit, but negotiating, again, concurring with the fact that the law's legal tender today is a negotiable instrument. That contract starts out as a negotiable instrument. It remains a negotiable instrument until one party or the other can prove breach of contract by intent.
Basically. So here's more on the security interest. So I'm going to go over the security interest and a few other things. So where's my security interest? That's what you might be asking. What is a security interest? A security interest is what can pay the bill. What is a security interest? Security interest is an enforceable legal claim.
An enforceable legal claim. Now, what happens is, again, that state is making the claim of the interest. Now, if you hold the very bond of which they're claiming an interest in, which is the birth certificate, now you hand it over to the United States on their account to fulfill their interest on the obligation includes all bonds. The state seal shows that it has full faith and credit according to the laws of the United States. Now you have the full faith and seal, or the seal of the full faith and credit on that instrument, and now you can securitize it by making that certified indemnification for the United States. And of course, all other parties along the line. Like I said, there's technically 4 documents that we saw in that first security certificate with the SEC, James A. William Trust. The municipal, county, state, and federal is what I believe. I still haven't found out. I still haven't been able to find the guy, but that's my perception.
Or lien on a collateral that has been pledged, usually
the collateral that has been pledged. And that's what we're doing. We now have the collateral. That's, again, the birth certificate. It's a collateral security instrument in bond form, an obligation or other security of the United States. A collateral document known as a government instrumentality.
To obtain a loan. So the security interest is what you gave them. That's what you want to use to if you're trying to use the...
That's what the states are using to obtain a loan. And in that process, they're claiming you're the one that has to give them the money. They always want to ask for dollars. If they make a claim and there's no dollar amount in there, then guess what? They've made a claim upon which relief can't be granted. All crimes are commercial. They have to do rule number 2 of Federal Rules of Civil Procedure. There is one form of action, civil.
Remittance coupon to change it into a bill of exchange. Usually in your contract, you gave them the security interest. It's an adhesion contract. So,
and this is why I say when you sign these documents and you don't know what you're doing and you just give a blank endorsement without qualifying, without prejudice, without recourse and all that, whatever kind of instrument you're using, you need to learn the contract terms and conditions that are at play so you can qualify that signature. Because if you don't, what you're doing is you're signing over rights, title, and interest in the property. The property happens to be the legal name. They use that legal name to get access to that certification through power of attorney. A minor child who is incompetent and hasn't come forth to prove his age and majority and claim the benefit, the collateral government instrumentality.
It's already set up in there that you're giving it away to them. So unless you renegotiate in the beginning, then
If one wants equity, you must first bring equity. This is, if you want the correction of the record, you must first bring what needs to be corrected. You have to have a knowledge. Without that knowledge, you will fail. My people are destroyed for lack of knowledge.
If you're already in the middle of it, you have to do some kind of legal, you have to create a legal remedy to transfer or reassign this. So how do I endorse the coupon is the next thing. So you can do it by using the bill of exchange and using a restrictive endorsement. Where's my security interest? So granting a security interest is a norm for
Let's go
loans
back,
such as,
because I think she went over a very important, skipped over.
Restrictive endorsement.
And I don't know if she may go over it yet, but it says right here, a restrictive endorsement is a conditional guarantee of a transfer of a negotiable instrument. And again, that birth certificate bond is a negotiable instrument that you get to place a conditional guarantee upon that transfer. And that conditional guarantee is that the United States will fulfill their obligation and release all interests. That fulfills the obligation. That means the interest from my side is the credits that have already been established by the merits of the record. The facts will show there are unearned income credits, there are tax credits, there are insurance credits, there are child support credits, there are credits for taxes, fines, fees, penalties, surcharges, and everything that I wasn't qualified to pay in that manner to begin with. I was supposed to issue a negotiable instrument to settle the matter and not defer the debt. When you settle the matter, it settles the matter and there is no debt. Therefore, there is no false debt claimed against the United States. It is in their interest to release the interest to relieve the debt.
Where's my security interest? So granting a security interest is a norm for loans such as auto loans, business loans, and mortgages. So basically, and credit cards. So basically, yeah, you basically grant it to them.
Notice it says credit cards, however, are classified as unsecured loans. So they're still operating, even on credit, they're still operating on a loan and borrow system. It's just that they're supposed to be loaning and borrowing credits and not money. Does that make sense, Joe?
My wife is changing clothes behind the telephone, so I can barely hear words you're saying.
Basically what it says, credit cards, however, are classified as unsecured loans. So either way, they're still talking about borrowing and loaning.
That's logical. I get the
yeah, just instead of borrowing and loaning money, they're borrowing and loaning credit.
Right. And that ties to the Social Security card. Same thing.
Correct. It is. Credit card means any card, card, plate, coupon book, or other credit device used to obtain money, property, labor, or services on credit, not money.
Right, so it falls into that. And I heard the first part where it's already implied that you're in it, and you were explaining that the way they do it is some double speak, like they have an executor for you because you're a young person. And once you sign it, it goes from implied to, this is not the word you use, secured or modified, right, or whatever. Now it's changed, and right, in order to to stop that and put it back on you, because apparently you have the right to at any time to end that and put it back on you, to end the debt, I think is how you put it, to resolve the debt or whatever.
Correct.
All right, I'm doing my best
Absolutely.
here.
And that adhesion, when it comes to secured and all that, that's that amendment, the endorsement, and I'll have to find it in the U.S. Code again for you, Joe, but it says in the U.S. Code, an endorsement means an amendment to an insurance policy. That's that blank signature. What you're doing is you're making an amendment to an insurance policy by taking on the suretyship. You're giving up your rights, titles, and interest in the property and taking upon the suretyship.
When you sign it, you're saying that you are giving up your I forgot how you just phrased it that quick, but you're giving
up your rights, titles, and interest in the property, which is the legal name and its use.
And where the insurance part come in, you said something about insurance.
And that means you take upon the suretyship. That means you are in surety. This is insurance. And it's because it's an unsecured loan.
Yes.
Now you just secured it.
I get it.
Because they already put it in their adhesion contract and you didn't really have any say. So there was really no equal consideration.
It's not that you didn't have any saying, it's just that you didn't recognize it and give it the equal consideration of the indemnification. Hold harmless. This is an arbitration agreement, and it's not a matter of filing suit. I'm making a private indemnification agreement for private placement so that you know I'm still outside of the contract as a third-party benefactor.
Right.
That utility contract you have with the city, that's on you. That's your contract. And that's a general welfare and domestic tranquility issue. That is a constitutional issue. I'm one of the people. I'm supposed to be the benefactor receiving the benefits.
Does that one of the people apply to non-citizens?
Yes, one of the people are known as non-residents, non-citizen, non-immigrant, things like that, non-domiciled.
Which is, in order for it to be a lawful contract, you need equal consideration. So you
and when cam, so they can't see me making dumb faces. Ain't nobody but women.
Yeah, don't be running around naked. So basically, what's happening is, again, because we've not been taught how to qualify the signature.
Oh fuck! I got my mic open. I'm an idiot.
Yeah, that's all right. We don't mind to talk about it. It's just that you can't do it visually. So the signature comes down to the fact that if we're not taught how to qualify that signature so that we can retain our rights, titles, and interest in the property and maintain that equal consideration, then we're actually giving up that equal consideration without a knowing and without an intent, and that itself on our side makes it both unconscionable and inauthentic. Because if we did know, we would assert our authority and authenticate it by making our yay, and our nay, our nay.
It sounds like there must be an out, because if there's, to my understanding, if there is no meeting of the minds, there cannot be a legal binding contract. It sounds like you have an out at any moment.
Correct, and that's because ab initio, nunc pro tunc, things occurred that I wasn't aware of, that I have knowledge of now, and I have a duty to bring forth. I am not a United States citizen. I am not a resident. And the state has been making this proclamation based on my adverse claim originally that I was a resident and that I am a United States citizen. I'm the one that was in error. But now that I know it, I have a duty to let those officials know diplomatically. So let's continue on.
You signed a promissory note giving them the security interest. The contract.
And that promissory note is that deferment of debt. You agreed to take on the debt and defer its payment for a future time and date or time and amount. It means you didn't come forth as the settler and settle it.
You agreed what? When
Tracking
you signed your
sign.
birth certificate, when do you agree? Or are they she talking about the implied agreement?
Any kind of, yeah, implied agreements. When we turn 18 and we're induced through this public education propaganda system that we have to have a social security card and get a driver's license, get a job and all that, that's false.
Right. I
There,
know everybody pushes you to sign that, and I think registration for the military would be a guide. And you
yep,
know, they tell you, you know, if you don't do it, you'll go to jail. They don't tell you what the hell it's for or anything like that. That is really interesting.
yep. And so when we find out, now we have to go back and correct it because it's in error at the
You've
beginning.
done that?
That's what I'm working on now.
Right. And what does that look like? Sending a letter to someone, I would assume, would be all you need.
Right, and that's qualifying it. Like the first video we did on indemnification, we saw a guy named James A. Williams, and he had a James A. Williams trust, and he had it certified through the SEC by placing certain values on birth certificates and issuing birth certificates with those indemnification agreements. And he had over $100 billion.
Holy hell! This was a private citizen.
Yeah.
Wow.
And it's a public document from the SEC.
Wow.
So they recognized it.
So
they know all
heavy.
about it. And this is the establishment of one's private law. Like I said, we're supposed to go through the House of Representatives. If you remember Schoolhouse Rock, I'm just a bill.
Yeah. I'm only a bill. And I'm
Watch
sitting
that.
here.
Watch that and learn. We're supposed to have a communication with Congress. This is Article 1, Section 8, Clause 8. We're supposed to have an authored document showing we are the creator of everything we put out. Until then, it's assumed that we are an employee in some capacity of a government office or agency. And that's why we're required to have this ID and get a social security number and a job. We're not.
Interesting.
Probably stated that in there. The blank endorsement on the note. So you basically, when you got the agreement or contract, you basically just endorsed it, did a blank endorsement, and then that became a note, a promissory note that was secure.
And once they had that note, you gave them a note, a promise to pay in the future for the services. If anything's wrong, I promise to pay. Okay. You're not supposed to. You're supposed to give them an indemnification agreement to hold them harmless if anything happens wrong. That turns the table. That's the flipping of the tables. And what happens is when you don't give that qualified or restricted endorsement qualifying the conditions, they securitize it with their signature. They're paid to the order of.
And then make a suggestion.
Real quick. And then it's sold on the secondary markets through the states. This is why it's important to come with equity to make sure that they recognize you're the third-party benefactor, and we're going to securitize this properly ourselves and hand it over to the United States. You'll get what's due and owing to you, but so will the principal. Go ahead, Joe.
I was wanting to know if maybe you could make some type of series, and this would set you apart. Oh, what's up?
Welcome, Brother Russ. How you doing tonight?
Good. What's up, guys?
I'm glad you popped up because this is over my head, man.
Well, you said something about making a series about this.
Yes, if you
I have. That's what I've been doing for the last three Sundays.
Hit the rest of it, where we could actually see when you take these steps to disassociate yourself. You can actually videotape it, show us the paper, so we'll have a blueprint to follow, and that would set you apart from anybody else. Everybody else is just talking about it. You'd be teaching us how to do it.
Right, and it's not a matter of disassociation. It's a matter of misidentification and therefore a misassociation. So we're going to do a deposition. See, this is what they call about special deposits. That means you have to make a special deposition. You have to make a special private placement. That's what it is. You're taking it from this position and placing it in another position. That's a placement. You have to do it privately. That's a private disposition or a deposition.
Yeah.
So
You know,
so it's
you
not
know,
a
I
matter
was,
of not associating with them, but recognizing them for what they are and associating with them in the proper capacity.
Redefining your position in there as well. Yeah, I get you.
Right.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Russ.
I was reading Psalms 109, and where it says, when he shall be judged, let him be condemned, and let his prayers become sin. Let his days be few, and let another take his office. So I'm like, okay, well, what do they mean in there? Take his office. So I start trying to figure out the word office, right? And fish, F-I-C-H-E. And then it said, let the kids become vagabonds and all of that. So I look up that fish, like F-I-C-H-E, as a noun, slip of paper, form, especially the form filled in by foreign guests in French hotels,
Yeah.
OED.
Well,
Card, index
uh,
card, slip, form, attach, stick on, pin on.
yeah, that's the same thing with cash.
Right.
CACHE. What is that? That's a cachet. What's a
Cachet.
cachet? Well, a cachet is a cachet of treasures. You
The
have all kinds of
stash.
neat little, right, the stash, the cash, the cachet, anti-cachet case.
Securitized and sold on the secondary markets. So you may have signed, endorsed a application, agreement, or contract. This created the note, the promissory note. The promissory note, sometimes called a promise to pay agreement, is a written promise in which one party agrees to repay another. So borrowers who take out personal loans, student loans, mortgages.
Where one party agrees to repay another. Well, again, if there's equal consideration and equal benefit, and somebody paid one party and he agrees to repay, then that means the other party paid him something and he should be agreeing to repay as well. Again, the same principle of the
Right.
indemnification process. If you're going to hold them harmless and indemnify them as contractors, then you should be able to extend that to the other party, the third party, as a benefactor, and make sure again that you qualify your competence in that public service, which is a public trust, meaning you're a public trustee that's supposed to, at the utmost, protect the beneficiary and the property. And the first thing you're doing is stealing both. Subrogation.
They need to sign a promissory note. So as soon as they sign it, as soon as you sign it, they just take it, securitize it, and sell it on the secondary markets. Yeah, so basically the oldest security device that is
And this is where I tell you, it's a document of title. It's got a title on it. It's a document of title.
common everywhere is a pledge. So you're pledging the security agreement. So if you've listened to a video that I have, it's about the fruit from a poisonous tree. It talks about that. I think it's in chapter 2 where it tells how they created a plan where everyone is going to be pledging their security interests and that they're always going to have to be paying and stuff like that. That this was like some plan that they decided to do. So anyway, the pledge is a type of security interest, see? So when you're doing it based on the pledging system, that means that, and this pledge is a P.I.G.S.C.U.N.T.S of Roman law, from which most of the modern European based law on the subject is derived, but generally a feature of even the most basic legal systems. A pledge of personal property is known as a pawn. So the personal property is your account, basically.
What happened? You muted if you're talking, was it?
It's the name. That personal property is the name. The very first thing that is pledged when you're born is the legal name. It is
Stuff.
pledged in pawn, and you don't get to use it until you pay them back. So how do you pay them back? You correct the record, showing that the record is showing that you are the creditor, and all you really need to do is indemnify and hold them harmless and say, hey, apologies accepted. We were all wrong.
What is it? Can I ask what state you're in?
On Iowa.
Iowa. I'm not far from there.
Joe, did I hear you say wife?
Well,
I'm sure it would be common law style wife, right?
Yes, it's that. Right.
Yep. See? I'm the same thing with my companion. I don't even call her wife. I call her my companion. We're partners in life. I'm her trustee in all of her life. She is my trustee in all of my life.
Yeah, all those things, right? Yeah, I don't know how to live without this knucklehead now.
Yeah, I hear you. So let's continue on here. So again, we understand that the very first piece of personal property is the legal name. That's the very first thing recorded.
Yeah. So the blank endorsement you gave them on the note was securitized and sold on the secondary markets. Yeah, I'm just reiterating. An endorsement is also...
And we know this because they are selling it in and amongst themselves by that graph that we showed for the state's vital statistics jurisdiction, showing that it is generated from within the government.
Spelled as with the E in some legal context. It refers to the placement of a signature on the back of a negotiable instrument, such as a check, a promissory note. The purpose of the...
On the back of instruments. So like many people have said, you can take that birth certificate and write your agreement on the back, a very simple agreement, and then qualify it with your signature, and it should work. That's the way this reads. It is a negotiable instrument. Just like any other coupon or check or money order, and all you got to do is you're supposed to be able to flip it over, write your agreement,
over, on the back, and endorse it to someone else. That's fucked up.
It's commercial paper, bonded even.
Endorsement is to transfer.
We have all these bad writers. We have all these bad writers just blotting down anything, being big blotters.
Yep, because they don't understand the English language. This is plain writing, guys. And I've been showing consistently for the last 8 years how it all correlates.
The meaning of blotter, the meaning bad writer, the sense of a day book, and the word was applied 1810 to rough draft, scrapbook, notebooks, and draft account books. Hence the police jargon.
Absolutely.
Police blotter.
Yeah, well, that's what the police log is. It's an accounting of the events according to the testimony of the witnesses. Well, who are the actual witnesses? Are they witless?
That's what that blotter is, a thing for drying wet spots.
Yeah. ShamWow, huh?
Yeah.
ScamWow!
Or to acknowledge the payment of a debt. So, yeah. So when you endorse...
Acknowledge the payment of a debt.
Yeah.
So now you're making an acknowledgement of a payment of debt.
Can this be real? Can this be real? Can they be this insidious when I signed my birth certificate that they planned on having me endorse my name and make me promise to pay a debt for the rest of my life? Can this shit be real?
Absolutely. Joe, are you a Christian? You believe in the scriptures?
I believe. I've never been to church, but I absolutely love Jesus and the Son of God. All that.
Okay, so when it says, "Owe no man anything but to love one another, for to love one another is to fulfill the law," what are we doing by accepting that there's some kind of a debt?
Yes, and I agree that usury shit, all of that is horrible and sinful.
Yeah, we're submitting to fear simply because in another verse it says, "I fear not, for I have been redeemed." How am I in debt if I have been redeemed?
Very good.
I fear not, for I have been redeemed. He
There
has
you go.
called me
That
by
was
thy
dope.
name.
That'll be the best shit
He
I
has
heard of
called.
that.
He has called me by thy name. I am his. What are you doing with that name?
All right, let me tell my girl what you just said.
Endorse it when you do a restrictive endorsement, you're kind of doing that. So the bank took the note when you signed and securitized it. They took your note and securitized it. When a bank secures a
They have to, because like it says, they're talking about insurance and loans, and they have to be able to cover those as a matter of security interest. So they have to secure them.
note, it typically means that the bank obtains a security interest in collateral to protect itself in case the borrower defaults.
In collateral. How do you suppose they do that? They say, well, I found this abandoned property, or this abandoned property was given to us, and we can't make a claim to it, but we can use it. And in the meantime, here's our indemnification agreement. That's how they secure it.
On the loan. So basically, yeah, they just
When you receive a loan, they tell you it's a non-recourse loan. No, it's qualifying the signature with a restricted endorsement saying without recourse.
just want you to pay this because that's how they make their money, basically. And they already have it in there, so you're already signed off of it. So now you have to try to get a hold of them. They usually do not listen to you, but you still have to do the legal process in order to get the legal remedy. You have to learn how to write legal writing, how to look up statutes that pertain to it and put them in your letters, and then also know how to enforce it. So when you receive a loan, you tell. So basically,
Yeah, Tribe makes a good point there. They're supposed to be holder in due course, but they can't be holder in due course if they're the trustee. Can't be so.
Tribe, get up here and help me, Tribe.
As holder in due course, you have to be able to settle the matters. They, as trustees, cannot. The only one that can truly settle the matters is the benefactor. And this is through a process known as perfecting the title. They cannot perfect the title. They have an inauthentic claim to the name.
Oh, I hear you. Ooh,
They can only claim usufruct.
that's dope. I hear you. That's dope.
there's some states where loans are non-recourse. So if you look it up, I believe it's in the IRS, they tell you which states. So it tells you what states that are non-recourse and which are not. So you can look it up, and your state might be a non-recourse loan place. So basically, you can, if someone's saying that you need to pay something, especially on mortgages, if you're having an issue with mortgage, that is a good thing. If you are in a non-recourse state, you can reply to them and let them know. That's your legal defense. That could be one of your legal defenses. So when you sign a contract, you are the only one performing. You're not telling the bank that they have to perform. In contract law, this is called equal consideration. Has the bank given you equal consideration? So you blank endorsed, and
this is why we do the indemnification. It's a contract compelling them to perform, because if they don't, then they are not immune. That's
what,
where that.
What is indemnification? What is that?
That's hold harmless and indemnify. In other words, you're not going to hold them harmless if something goes wrong. But if they do so against the performance contract, knowing that they're required to perform, then that's a performance contract that they violated. Now you can get them through the surety company for their non-performance. The surety company qualifies that they will perform and that they will pay contracting parties. So now
Wow.
if you have the indemnification thing, you go to the surety company and say, hey, he didn't perform. I'm a contractor. Here's the indemnification contract. Please forward the
Which one?
credit.
Who's in the surety purse holder and the birth certificate? Me and whoever. Which one of us is the surety holder, the beneficiary? One of us must be assured, like the you say
The ones that
the
are actually involved in the contract, which are the public servants of the public trust.
these are the ones who ensure that I will pay, or that this thing debt will be paid. Who was the surety? Who
Correct.
assures that?
United States with the
Yeah,
Federal Reserve and Postal Service all
they
together
assure.
are qualifying contracts for foreign trade zones.
And they're and that's, I guess, how they sell it. They're telling him, we're going to make sure that he pays off this debt, even though he's unaware of it. We're going to make sure that he pays this shit off.
Correct.
Gave them a promissory note. You gave them a negotiable instrument that they can go sell. Did they actually? So they said they loaned you something. So where is the money that they loaned you? Where did they
Ooh.
give you a check for it? No, they just took your note and said, "Okay, pay." So they took you some.
So when you go to the bank and you get that home loan and you don't qualify it within that 30 days as your personal property, it goes as abandoned. They securitize it, sell it because it was abandoned. Now
Wait,
you
wait,
have
wait.
to pay. Now they talk you into an installment payment agreement that includes an insurance undertaking as well as a tax
Wait, are
ownership.
you saying that if I go get a $300,000 loan for a home, I can take that? I should take that money out and bring it to the crib so that it's mine. How do I claim it? You say it goes unclaimed.
You don't. You give a directive to extend the credits. It's a credit device used to obtain.
So don't even get the loan.
No, you correct the process. I'm here for a credit line. I'm here to extend credits that are already there and established.
Okay.
Here's the account.
Okay, all right. And what purpose does that serve? That gets them out of the loop and it's just me and someone else? If I
Well,
still
no.
getting, if I'm saying I'm getting the credit, even though I'm calling it a different name, I'm still on the hook. I pay it back. Do I have? I don't know. I don't know
No,
what.
once you establish that, you're just extending credits, and they know what account to pull them from and what account to put them into. It's an instantaneous transaction. It's an electronic book form entry that happens immediately. That's Fedwire.
So I tell them what to do with my 300 grand.
Yep. And as long as that routing is directed appropriately, they will pass it through. So if you want, you could technically set it up so that you want 300,000 paid to the order of Keith Orland Little, FBU, and then the responsible party, known as the executive administrator of the account, is the one receiving those funds for distribution. That's yourself. That's the legal name.
All right. So if it's credit, I still have to pay it back at a later date. Yeah.
No, it's what he puts out shall return. That's circulation. That what does electrical currents do when they have circulation? They go back and forth. They complete the circuit and keep going around and around and around. That's circulation.
So are you saying I already have X amount of credit and
Correct.
I'm just borrowing from the credit that not borrowing. I'm just taking the credit
You're
that already
extending
exists.
you're extending the credits to them. They're borrowing them
Right,
because
right,
you're
right.
loaning them credits, and they're going to pay you back in like kind with
All right.
credits.
I think
And
I'm
it's
getting
an
it.
instantaneous. It's supposed to be an instantaneous transaction.
All right.
Look, put it to you this way: you're out in the parking lot. The battery in your car is dead, and you can't get your car started.
All right.
Guess what I do?
Mm.
I come out with a battery charger.
Right.
I'm going to hook the battery charger up to your car.
Gotcha.
I'm going to charge your car, and once it starts, it runs on its own and has its own charge.
Right.
I get my battery charger back, don't I?
Of course.
Absolutely. That's all we're doing. We're charging up their electronic system. We're not supposed to be issuing money. There is no money that we can issue except negotiable instruments.
All right. I get you. Right. Yeah.
Anything else is a debt note.
Right.
Signed it, they took your endorsement, sold it, and then they told you and paid me. So they've actually haven't given you anything. And that's pretty much it.
So what do you think so far, guys?
I think I'm understanding. I'm, I ain't the brightest guy, and I probably shouldn't smoke when I come over here. But I do think I'm getting a big chunks of it to me. But I'm sure I'm missing so much shit that that.
Well, yeah, but that's a matter of, like I said, right now I've got this series that I'm doing on indemnification, and like you suggested, which I already have as part of it. I can't do this and not show people positive proof and effect once I do it. So that will be part of it, is being able to break it down and show people in future videos step by step.
Even if it fails, you still need to show, in my opinion.
Correct.
I'd appreciate it if you showed me, these are the steps I took and these are the results, and we can refine that shit together and try it. If you could get on a microphone somewhere, I know this is your wheelhouse. Explain this shit to me.
Well, I've been going to city council meetings, and I've already got my thing written up for tomorrow night city council. And I'm going to be talking to them about communication, about the Government Accountability Office finding ongoing serious weakness in U.S. government's financial statements when it comes to those communications. I'm going to be talking about their basic obligation of public service. And of course, authorized agency official competencies and federal government and executive agencies.
Are you going to go over their heads with this?
If I have to, yeah.
No. I didn't mean in that sense. I mean, are they going to understand what you're saying? Are you using terms that the people behind you in the seats can understand?
Oh, yeah. Well, here, I'll read you. It's going to be about 3 minutes. I'll read you what I've got set up.
There's got to be 3 minutes. I guess you timed it already.
Hey, even City Hall gives 3 minutes, right?
That's right.
Yeah, I'm right. So, I have been trying with great patience to keep certain matters private in my communications with you as city and county officials. Having not experienced great success and rather rude reactions and blatant ignorance, my patience wears very thin. Communication is a basic obligation of public service. Local leaders not listening to the public can lead to various challenges and hinder effective governance and community engagement. One of the major barriers to effective leadership is the failure to listen to others. This is considered the number one barrier to leadership, and it can impede the growth of personal and professional leadership skills and qualities within our communities. Active listening to people in the community is crucial for creating an environment of improved morale and engagement. Strategies such as conducting one-on-one discussions with our officials and soliciting honest feedback are needed for enhancing relations in our communities. And yet, that is the thing you avoid the most.
Sound like me and the cops. They don't listen. I don't get feedback. Yeah.
Yep. The problem of disengagement within local communities is often attributed to narrow understanding of local democracy. This can nullify the efforts of leaders and community members who genuinely engage with people on important issues, leading to a lack of public trust. For instance, my own personal experience of waiting 6 months to even get a meeting with the mayor by having to actually make it an open demand in this very public forum. And here I am again, making another demand because the city clerk, the ones obligated to the people, fail to either realize that obligation, or they are just not competent enough to comprehend that their very job is dependent on these communications.
Exactly.
You will no longer just pick and choose who you communicate with in this community.
Very good.
I demand to know who is this city's surety bond company, or I will hand everything I have over to the state attorney general. I have exhausted the administrative process when the administration itself refuses to do their damn job. Local governments are facing challenges related to high turnover and belt tightening. And I'll remind you of Tiffany Henyard and many others we've been seeing coming out in the news media lately.
I've been watching.
The people are not going to put up with it much longer. This can result in the loss of institutional knowledge and create stress within the community. I, for one, would hope those in obligatory capacities would know their jobs and uphold that basic obligation of communication and interactions. I would also hope that when people that do know how this government runs, you don't just dismiss them as if they don't know what they're talking about. Public trust and engagement, I'll emphasize here, are that leaders who listen to their people, adapt the way they do business, will grow more agile, competitive, and ultimately change for the better. Public trust in leadership is closely tied to the ability to listen and adapt. That correlates that if you're not listening, then there's not much public trust.
Yes, and the second part, you cannot adapt because you don't even hear their demands or what their needs are. So there is no adaptation either yet.
In closing, active listening and engagement with employees and the community are crucial for effective leadership and governance. It is most crucial to prevent us from once again becoming a society of Hitler's willing executioners. If you have any specific questions or need further information on this topic, feel free to ask. But you will no longer ignore the very people you are obligated to.
I've listened to every word. That will fly at any community. That will fly anywhere, any community.
Yeah, I am one of the people, one of the children of God, rightly dividing the word of truth, so that those with eyes to see and ears to hear will see the perfectness and pureness. Every word of God is a trust, or every word of God is pure. It is a shield for those who put their trust in God.
Meaning, I think I hear where you're going.
Put on the full armor of God is what it means.
Yeah, no, I get that. I meant how you tying it to the meeting. Because that's those words, which is probably why they will fly in any community, because they are, as you're saying,
I think they're pretty concise.
That's not concise. You said it well, or maybe I'm not articulating myself. These will be the problems that anyone across the country has at that council meeting. That will be their cry. You are not listening to us. That is universal. What you just said, that is universal across the country. That's what I was trying to say. Yeah.
So that's what I'm doing actively. I'm going before the city council, and I'm trying to work with these officials. And my apologies if I sound like an angry old man sometimes, but you can ask my companion even to this day. I always start out real nice and easy. It's not till you show your blatant disregard and disrespect for me as an image and likeness that I will jump down your throat.
It is hard, buddy. It's just
You want to show your competencies, then you better damn well prove them. And you better damn well be able to prove them to me, because like I said, you don't want to be my friend. I will hold you to the highest standards.
Doesn't it mean, was it that they think you are less than them because the communication fails and they feel like they can dismiss you at will? They don't have to listen to you.
Right.
That fact that they feel like they can dismiss what you are trying to say, I read that as they think you're less than them, or you're a child or something, because those are the only people you dismiss. And this is the exact opposite.
Yeah, and this goes to 5 CFR 575.102 definitions, where I said I printed this up and I'm going to hand this over to them. Agency means, and it gives you the thing here, where the legislative branch agency, executive agency. The mayor is the executive agency. The city's attorney is the one that helps with the legislation. And then, of course, the clerk is the one that does all the financial transactions and qualifying those signatures, right? Authorized agency official means the head of an agency, so the executive or legislative branch. And it says right here, competencies means the knowledge. So you have to have the knowledge. If you're going to sit there and dismiss the knowledge that I'm bringing forth, it shows me that you don't have the knowledge. And then to sit there and say, I'm just doing my job, and then just ignore me is saying that you are denying your obligation to the very one that is bringing equity. That's all I'm doing. And yet,
Assuming,
that's the
assuming,
one thing you refuse to accept.
yes, assuming your request falls within their job, you know, and I'm assuming that it does.
Yeah.
So they can't say, I'm just
Competencies
doing my
means
job. You're not just doing your job if you're not fulfilling what I'm asking you to do, because this is literally part of your job.
right. It goes on to say, competencies means the knowledge, skills, abilities, behaviors, and other characteristics an individual needs to perform the duties of a position.
So,
Is
yeah.
it not your duty as a public servant in public trust? Is it not your duty to communicate with the people in the community so that when things change, you can adapt?
So, I screenshot that shit.
So the next one, this is Western Life Indemnity Company of Illinois versus RUPP. Error to the Court of Appeals of the State of Kentucky. And I wanted to read this because this is talking about those blue sky securities laws without stating any blue sky securities, because they're talking about that 14th Amendment and the person and the personal jurisdiction and how you object to it and this and that.
Yeah.
And in this, I'm going to make a distinction between federal jurisdiction and state jurisdiction. So please pay attention. It's just these three things I'm going to read. And it says, a state may prescribe that a voluntary special appearance in one of its courts, even for the purpose of objecting to jurisdiction, shall be deemed a general appearance without violating the due process clause of the 14th Amendment.
No, was that May?
That means you cannot voluntarily make a special appearance in
The state,
one of its
yep.
courts.
The
The
state
only
may prescribe that a voluntary special appearance in one of its courts, even for the purpose of objecting to the jurisdiction, shall be deemed a general appearance.
correct.
Without, I'm not sure.
So how do they prescribe a special appearance as a general appearance? Through logic. It's a voluntary special appearance.
Okay.
So everything you do has been voluntary so far.
Well, that would fall under general appearance, it seems to me. It's just a general appearance because it's voluntary. Okay, so far I'm with them then. Without violating the due process clause. So they are saying that you could, all right, I see.
You're coming forth voluntarily in a special appearance for a representation of a legal fiction, instead of making a claim on the legal fiction and saying, no, it's going to be put in private placement so it no longer appears. Goes through a name change and a merger with a new name, the trust.
Like such an idiot when I talk to you.
In one of its courts. So voluntarily, now we find out, because it's an unconscionable contract and we have been volunteering and now we have new knowledge, we can no longer volunteer.
Right, because they're saying it's voluntary, yes.
Yep. In the federal courts, a defendant may appear specially to insist upon the illegality of service. So they're telling you there's an exception if there's an illegality of service, and that's what it is. You gave them a name and address, and that's an expression of a trust as a official or agent in that trust, performing a public service of process. The process due through the 14th Amendment.
Oh, and if overruled, does not waive his objections.
By answering to the merits, which are the facts. And the facts, I've got to tell you, are inauthentic, not true, mistakes, accidents, in error, whatever. How do I know? Because I can define or definitely tell you that I do not fall within the definition of what resident is defined as.
Hey, can you roll back? I want to see the title and screenshot the title list in case I need to find it. All right. I got it. You can go back.
And so it continues on to say, but the states may, as Kentucky has established, or as Kentucky has, establish a different rule, and nothing in the 14th Amendment prevents them from doing so. The due process provision of the 14th Amendment has regard not to matters of form, but to substance of right. So, the states operate in REM, the form, information of contract. In formation of contract is called offer and acceptance in formation of contract. In the federal courts, it says a defendant may appear specially, and the defendant is a person, and the federal courts have in personam jurisdiction. It's a United States vessel. The legal fiction itself is entitled through an obligation or other security of the United States to defer the debt. He also has the right of informed use of credit. So again, the equity side is equity acts in personam. So that tells us we need to take it to the federal courts. And in order to take it to the federal courts on a special appearance, it should be a special session of Congress through the House of Representatives, because I'm just a bill. The bill is about an indemnification throughout the entire government so we can adapt and change to us, the one that's bringing them knowledge. Hey, you can't be violating the very benefactor. Your education system should be teaching the benefactors how to assert their positions so that they can give their credit to the nation freely and willingly, knowing it's going to come back. What would be a better nation than that? One that operates on credit of accounts rather than money of accounts, because they truly give all credit to the Creator. Owe no man anything but to love one another, for to love one another is to fulfill the law. Then what are we doing here? Creating debts. The extension of credit is the creation of a debt, and therefore when you extend that credit, it has to come with an indemnification agreement, hold harmless, indemnify. It's just an extension of credit. Nobody owes anybody a debt. It's not a deferment of debt. Therefore, it's not a creation of debt. It's a circulation of credit. Go ahead.
It's dope. I was reading ahead too, man, and it gets better.
Well, yeah, if you want to, we've got time if you want to keep going. I mean, shit.
But yeah. Right there, the next one where it said, where there's a rule in Kentucky, I think you went, oh, okay. Where there's a rule in Kentucky that the appearance in an appellate court operates as submission to the jurisdiction, which I hear a lot of people say, just walking in there is a submission to this jurisdiction, so as to dispense with service of process. The rights of the defendant in a case where plaintiff appeals are safeguarded by his right to, you might have to explain that to me. Are they saying that it is not, does not mean him going to a court, does not mean submission to jurisdiction? Is that what they're saying?
Right, because it's with service of process, and there's an illegality.
You got to go to courts to serve process. It doesn't mean you're submitting to this
Going
jurisdiction.
right, going to court is admittance of service of process, stepping in as the surety, saying, okay, I'm willing to accept these charges and plead guilty or not guilty.
Oh, so wait a minute. I thought they were saying, wait a minute. All right, I'm confused.
You're making a plea to the debt, and by going in there and making a plea to the debt, you're acting in the performance of the functions of a public office, which is public service of process. You're in a public room, and you're saying, hey, I'll take that. Oh, you want me to sign? Here. No.
So does that imply now that I am submitting to the jurisdiction?
Correct.
It looks like
that's the is be deemed a general appearance. And it's without violating the due process clause of the 14th Amendment.
All right. I think I'm confused again. I don't know whether he's saying, I think it reads that you can walk in there, but it does not necessarily mean you're under their jurisdiction. It can be just communications. Don't walk just because you're walking to a court. It don't mean that you're under their jurisdiction. Right.
You can, again, it goes to this. Upon violent compulsion, threats of violence, I have been forced into these courtrooms to address these issues.
Right.
And I assure you, that is abuse or threatened abuse of the law, whether it be civic or civil, administrative, or criminal, for a purpose which it was not intended. How do I know? Because I know that clerk is going to change some certain elements, and like the last name is going to be converted to a firm name, and the social security number is going to be converted to an obligor number. How do I know? Because I've got evidence. You want to pull up your record you have in yourself? Quo warranto, pull forth the record. It needs to be corrected. I'm not coming at you against your title or your office. I want the record you hold. You better perform that contract and fix this record. That goes to the integrity of the record, and that's one of your basic obligations of public service, along with those communications as well. So when you deny my communication that record is wrong and refuse to do anything about it, you're not refusing an obligation just to me, but you're refusing an obligation to the very contract you have with your superiors while you sit there and claim you're just doing your job. Who do you think they're going to throw under the bus? You or me? Because they're not going under the bus, because I'm going straight over their head too. I'm not playing games anymore, folks. I do know how this works. While a non-resident against whom a personal action is instituted, not a private, a personal action, has to do with the legal fiction, not the private man. In a state court without personal service within the jurisdiction may ignore the proceeding as wholly ineffective and set up its invalidity when an attempt is made to take his property thereunder. So when they make an attempt to take your property, now you can go in and make this claim of invalidity. It is an inauthentic claim. It is not valid. If he wishes to contest the validity of the proceeding, contest the facts, not their title, not their office, the facts of the proceeding in advance in the courts of the state, he must enter the court subject to the rules as to submitting to the jurisdiction. This is merely saying that equity imputes an intent to fulfill an obligation. So therefore, you give them assurance that I am here to fulfill the obligation of rightly dividing the word of truth. In that, whereby I'm able to give you new knowledge. It's called news. That's why they call it news. That you may not be aware of. And in that, you refuse to take that communication, knowing that I told you it was causing harm, damage, and injury. against one of the benefactors, and then you blatantly went ahead and violated your contract with your superiors, which is a violation of the public trust as well. Now you're hung. I'm coming forth peacefully as a non-resident, telling you you don't have personal jurisdiction. I'm showing you where and why. And this goes submitting to the jurisdiction. He must enter the court subject to the rules as to submitting to the jurisdiction. Rule number 2, there is but one procedure.
Wait. Is that saying?
If you want them to help you, you have to recognize there's an association and give it equal consideration. But the association isn't with the states. It's with the federal government, who has in personam jurisdiction. It's a personal issue, so it's a federal question. It says, while a non-resident against whom a personal action is instituted, they bring it in person in the name. It's always a personal issue, but the state is operating on the facts, not the name. That's the in rem, the body of the material, the subject matter. Does that make sense?
Yes, but it didn't answer my question before you moved on. And I don't forget what the fuck I was trying to ask.
On the cross appeal?
I don't remember. It said if you must go in there and submit to their jurisdiction by following their rules. It was something along that.
Right. If he wishes to contest the validity of the proceeding in advance in the courts of the state, he must enter the court subject to the rules as to submitting to the jurisdiction.
Oh, now I'm confused again. Are they saying that if I want to go into them, yes, and argue, I am submitting? They saying I am submitting to the jurisdiction. I am, and I must. Is that now? That's what it sounds like they're saying.
Right, but the difference is that when you do so, you enter in as the benefactor to settle the matters, and you have control of the litigation in that.
I got control, and I'm submitting that jurisdiction. I guess I can submit to this jurisdiction and still not lose control. That's feasible, yeah.
Yeah, and that's what, if you go back through the last couple of weeks of these indemnification videos I did on Sunday nights, you'll see we discussed that. They admit that.
Yeah.
You have the right to enter in as holder in due course benefactor to settle and control the litigation.
Yeah, it seems at least feasible and logical. Yeah.
Right, and so under federal rules of civil procedure, it says there is one form of action, civil action. Well, that goes with equity, imputes an intent to fulfill an obligation. Put it in contract form as an indemnification agreement, and this is Leviticus 25, verses 23 through 25. The land shall not be sold forever, for it is mine, and ye are strangers and sojourners with me. In all of the lands of your possession, ye shall grant a redemption to the land. If your brother be waxen and poor and sold off his belongings, and one of his kin come back to rebuy or buy back his belongings, he shall redeem him. Fear not, for I have been redeemed. He has called me by thy name. I am his. I am his, and I am here with him, stranger and sojourner with him, making redemptions to the land and my neighbors. And it's just rightly dividing the word of truth and granting indemnifications. It is not unreasonable for a state to prescribe such rules of procedure in regard to special appearances in its courts as will prevent a defendant from attempting to obtain a binding adjudication on the merits in his favor through the exercise of the court's jurisdiction, while depriving the plaintiff of the possibility of success by reserving an objection to the court's jurisdiction, or the jurisdiction of the court. So you have to admit the jurisdiction of the court in order to allow the plaintiff and a possibility of success. But when you go in there with the confidence, knowing that they've made a claim upon which relief can't be granted because they're operating in REM, or in REM, which is the facts of the matter, and the facts are screwed up, and when you correct those records, they lose jurisdiction. Again, it becomes the personal name, so you don't even mess with them in a state court. You go straight to federal. They're the ones that have in personam jurisdiction. And again, while a non-resident against whom a personal action, not an in rem action, a personal action. They named the person. And they made it a document of title. It's all uppercase. Who is entitled to enforce the instrument as holder in due course? Walk in, grab that instrument, know what you're doing, and indemnify them. Wishes to contest the validity of the proceeding in advance in the courts of the state. You got 3 days. Walk in there and boom. I'm here to indemnify this case. I'd like to adopt it for adaptation.
Indemnify means to compensate someone for losses or damages.
Yep.
All right. So when I'm going there saying I want to indemnify this so and so, explain it to me again.
Okay.
I want to.
So the state has this record that says they've been holding that estate property for the benefactor all these years. They have to get paid for it. In the meantime, all these bills and everything that have been paid for by you have receipts and stuff that were thrown away. On those, they say U.S. debit, or they were issued as coupons that weren't properly endorsed. And so they were securitized and the state made money. Okay. These are all errors that are keeping the books out of balance.
That just means that they took money. That just means that they used money. I don't know. I'm trying to interpret in my head and stop using your language. And I wish you would come over to my language and stop using words that, you're accustomed to use, and just understand that I don't hear them every day. If you could break them down more and shit, it would help. But go ahead. It's hard for me to keep a thought.
Well, when it comes to today's system, everything is a debt instrument. It's relative to a debt. You can do two things. Yes,
that's where you were going, right? That's what you were saying. Yeah.
You can do two things with debt. You can pay it, or you can settle it.
How is that not the same thing? Settle a debt, it's done. Pay a debt. What's the difference?
When you pay a debt, it's a matter of repayment. One party is claiming another party owes a debt and seeks repayment.
Okay. All right.
So something was supposed to have already been paid. What was it?
Well, something, if there's a debt incurred, right? Something had to happen before, yeah.
So therefore, a payment is evidence that a debt was incurred.
Yes, I'd agree.
Did you know you're not even supposed to be touching those Federal Reserve notes? And people have been running around thinking they've been paying things with Federal Reserve notes when that's just a promise to pay. That was a deferment of a debt. And when you got that receipt, it said
and
cash.
You're making it bigger too, right? You're deferring a larger debt. Yeah. You're kicking the can down the road. And you think you want to be really wealthy and get as much of these greenbacks as possible. And that's just proving that you have the biggest debt is all that's going to end up proving. The guy who thinks he has the most, I got the most jewelry, biggest house, most money, is the guy who has incurred the largest debt. That's it.
Yeah. Here we go. Check this out. This is one of my favorite quotes. Let me see here. I was asked once, "You're a smart man. Why aren't you rich?" I replied, "You're a rich man. Why aren't you smart?" Jacques Fresco. So
intelligence is judged by bread. That's fucked up, but
yeah, and it's amazing that people don't understand how to assert their talents and understand that there's a greater system of wealth, which is free.
Yeah, and what system of wealth are you talking about? What's natural?
Right.
Plants,
When you learn how to,
trees.
right. When
Are
you
you
learn how to
talking
be,
about love? Are you
actually,
talking
yeah,
about relationships? Will be
everything,
specific.
everything. It's a matter of learning how the system works so that you can be the grantee, because not because you have some kind of ego or pride, but that you know the base foundation of your talents. And by using your talents, no matter how many you have, you get a reaction and response from others that show they enjoy that talent,
Right.
and they're willing to come back and keep building that relationship. And so when you say this thing about love, the thing I deem love to be is a verb. It is the action
It's an
of
action.
having these communications with each other so we can get to know each other.
And it's certainly showing love in that moment, and it is a verb. Yeah.
And that's, and that's why I strive to do this so much, because I have so much um, information on how this stuff works that just doesn't make sense to me. I mean, why would I be required to sign anything if I'm truly a beneficiary of a public trust? And yet neither have I ever received a benefit without signing anything, nor have I been taught that
But
signing is actually putting me in a
what
trustee position.
you said, why should I something if I'm actually the beneficiary of a public trust? What
Right.
trust? In English, plain English, please. What trust are you
Any
benefiting from?
any trust has two basic elements: a grantee and a beneficiary.
Who assumes that you are part of that?
The grant the
Your
grantee
statement
want
assumes that you are the beneficiary of some trust. What
if I
trust is that? Where is it written that you are the
if
beneficiary of a trust?
well, it says that if there is a trust, there are three parties: grantor, grantee, trustor, trustee, benefactor, beneficiary, and they represent the living soul and the person as defined by the nouns used.
So
Okay.
wait. No. I'm not okay. So it still takes that you already agreed that a trust exists. Where are you getting that from? The Bible? You're saying if I am the beneficiary of a
No.
trust, like someone
Right.
is telling you you're the beneficiary. Who's telling you that? Where are
No.
you getting that from?
I'm saying if public service is a public trust, and I am a beneficiary of that public trust.
Got you. Thank you. Now that I can understand. Yes.
Okay. So if I'm the beneficiary of the trust, and trust law says two things that I want everybody to remember, three things. Four. I'll make it four. First, a trust shall not fail for want of trustee. This means a trust can be formed simply by a grantee grantor giving a gift to a beneficiary benefactor.
I didn't understand
So
that.
it
Can you
doesn't,
break it down in other language?
Joe, if I want you to receive a gift from me, I can give it directly from me to you because you're not a minor and have to wait for a certain period of time before you can receive it. So if I wanted to give you a gift now, I would have to give it to a trustee, and they would hold it until you became age of majority.
Got you. Thank you.
Okay? So, trust shall not fail for want of trustee. If the beneficiary knows that the trustee is malfeasant, misfeasant, he can dismiss the trustee.
Oh, then how they do what they do now?
The beneficiary is deemed to be the true owner.
Just by kicking them out, the trustee, now you are deemed the true owner. Okay.
No. Equity imputes that the beneficiary is the true owner. That's equity. Equity imputes that the beneficiary is the true owner. As the true owner, you can dismiss the trustee.
At any time.
Also, as the true owner, you get to settle the accounts.
We need to settle the accounts. All right, we just go with public service. These are my trust. This is my trust, the public service. The trustee sucks. Let's call him the mayor or whatever. I dismiss him, and I come to a settle accounts with my public servants. What accounts do they hold upon me that I am settling or can settle?
Civil and criminal accounts through the court system, education accounts, medical accounts, all those things. Everything
right,
you've ever applied to
right.
and
And
had
how do I
citations.
settle those accounts by? How do I settle? Some cases will I have to pay money? Will I just close them out and say I don't want to deal with them? What will I? How do you settle
No,
an account?
it's a matter of attaching them as part of the security interest, which is that birth certificate. You'll find out that those cases were brought and in that name, and that birth certificate is the underlying document of a government instrumentality holding that legal name to do so.
So to settle my accounts, it has something to do with the birth certificate.
Right. That's a state issued bond as a security instrument that you can transfer to the obligated party, which is the United States. Obligations and other securities of the United States includes all bonds. In that, you can assign in that transfer them to fulfill their obligation on account of the United States so that no person shall be held
All right.
liable in any court for
I
full
had a
acquittance and
question.
discharge.
All right. I had a question. The birth certificate is all of these things, and they sell it on the stock market. I've heard this a lot. I've even looked some. How do I prove, because I have to be able to prove that this thing is an assured bond and you're selling on the stock market, it's a so and so. How
You
do
don't have
I?
to. You don't have to prove that.
Uh,
All you have to do is prove that that seal holds full faith and credit, and that's in their code. And like I said, I'll pull that up and show you. So once you receive that, you've got to keep the receipts, you keep the envelopes, everything,
that
because if
seal
because
shows
if
full
commanding
faith
if,
and
if
credit.
right if commanding officer shall cause receipts to be issued, the spoliated owner may use them to obtain indemnity. So now I have receipts issued by the commanding officer, the Secretary of the State, and it is a security instrument, and I can transfer that to the United States to offset or discharge or whatever I need to do. In my case, I'm using it as indemnification, hold harmless, for all 94 cases and any future cases, for recognition that I am the benefactor and I am the one that extends credit. And I'm willing to extend all the credit you need, so long as it's understood that credit is given back to my account.
No, I don't stand all of that shit.
Equal consideration, equal benefit. If I'm going to extend credit, you can't turn around and for some kind of mistake or not performance of the contract, turn around
Right.
and charge me in dollars,
We have to,
right?
I agree. We have to prove then that this social security card is some line of credit. Even if they're using it, that is the proof that it exists as a line of credit. Where's your
Yeah,
best proof of that?
it's the holding of an electronic credit or electronic.
Where's the proof of that?
Hold on, it's the holding of an electronic record that shows that every payment you made to the Social Security and through FICA is an insurance credit. Ask them.
Okay, let me think. It's an insurance credit. You're saying the number is the insurance part of it. I don't know. Maybe it's the credit.
It's a routing. It's a routing for the insurance credits. Let me see if I can pull it up.
It'd have to be insurance would have to be built into it because it has to be some assurance if it is what you said it is. This is what happens when you sell drugs and stay out of the government for 50 fucking years. You know, terms that UCAS been using all your life. They just don't come up in conversation.
You must earn at least 40 Social Security credits to be eligible for Social Security benefits. You earn credits when you work and pay Social Security taxes. And in order to receive those benefits, this is an insurance statement. It's telling you, they are insuring you that if you earn at least 40 Social Security credits, you are eligible for Social Security benefits.
All right. So all they're saying, to change that in layman's term, they're saying if you pay into Social Security at the workforce, then you get something back. Is that right? Mitch, help me. Get up here, bro. Speak English to me. You're the perfect guy if you can, as I'm trying to translate this shit from wizard to layman's term, and I suck at it, and I'm getting high, ain't making it no better. And
So basically, you got to work 10 years to earn credits to get benefits.
Okay, I get that then. Yeah.
You get 1 credit every quarter,
Okay.
so you get 4 credits a year.
So they're just telling you how it is that if you pay into the system, you'll get money out of the system. How does that make them devils, part of the Social Security, so and so? What did that supposed to teach me? That little part right there.
Because there's a conversion. Social Security Medicare credit for every $1,730.
Okay.
What's a dollar?
Okay. It's the debt.
Right.
Okay.
It's
All right.
money of account rather than credit of account. So they took your wages, income, whatever you were confused about, and you were paying taxes and everything, and considered it income.
The
That means,
cachet in hiding.
right, well, literally, it's an investment. You literally, in order to have income, you have to take a money source and invest it into a system that will pool that money source and go out and make more money, so that when it returns to Doc, everybody gets a profit.
Right.
That is not what you did when you went to McDonald's and worked your ass off for 8 hours a day. You were being compensated in fair labor and didn't understand the common law contract of it and agreed for a employee position as a tax holding agent.
I don't know. Does that mean that what you went and put in your hard-earned work for, they gave you debt notes? Is that where you're going?
They gave you a check, which is money, not credits. Then you took it to the bank and cashed it, and they gave you Federal Reserve notes.
Right.
And you're not even supposed to be using or touching Federal Reserve notes. Those are for advances from Federal Reserve institutions to Federal Reserve banks by Federal Reserve transfer agents, and for no other purpose are authorized.
I think I heard that somewhere.
12 U.S.C. 411. Greetings, Mitch. How you doing tonight, brother?
Hey, good man. Sorry if you can hear. My dog doesn't like my attention being directed elsewhere.
Right.
She's just
Right.
She's whimpering in the background. Sorry if you can hear that.
Yeah, my woman's the same way, bro. I don't
So do you understand what's going on here, Mitch? Can you help explain it to Joe here?
Yes,
Well-
I'm trying to see what questions I have in particular. Now that he hopped up here, I can't remember any exactly, but if you can make any clarity, Mitch.
I'm kind of late to the show, but how I understand it, basically in layman's terms, is you are the full faith and credit, and if you learn to administer that appropriately, then they won't be your administrator, and that will allow you to take the appropriate steps to basically do the financial instruments or the negotiable instruments in a way that are beneficial to you as it was intended.
I get all of that.
Yeah.
I get all of that.
And that's that part about learning what their job is and what those qualified signatures are and what it's doing to those documents.
Yes.
So when you come across those documents and you know it's going to be posed as a United States obligation or other security, because it includes all bonds. And again, if you're putting a signature on something, it's an adhesion contract.
Yeah.
That's a bonding.
Right. It goes.
And it's going to be securitized.
To adhesion. Yeah.
So the thing about the credits and dollars is that under 12 U.S.C. 813, it's called, let me pull it up. It's a definitions set where it tells us about deposit. The term deposit means the unpaid balance of money or its equivalent received or held by a bank or savings association in the usual course of business, and for which it has given or is obligated to give credit.
Okay. When did I make a deposit?
Anytime you make a deposit. The problem is, again, that endorsement. If you don't do the proper qualified endorsement, they don't recognize the obligation to give credits because you didn't securitize it. So they securitize it as the creditor, and then they get the credits. They're forwarded to them. See, when you enter a definitive paper form document into the electronic system, the paper form doesn't enter the electronic system. What enters into the system is an accreditation that there is a document that is existing that says the same thing. It's a credit.
All right. So in your previous saying there, I go in and I make a deposit. In the deposit, it is something saying that the guy on the other side is assuring me that he's gonna give it back somewhere. It is unpaid and unequal, is not equal anymore, and he's assuring he's gonna make it equal.
Correct.
What did I put in? What did I put in? What was my deposit where I can now request these things where there is some inequity? What is my deposit in layman's terms?
Okay, the check was written out for $215.
So you're talking about money that I get working in my job?
Whatever you're depositing into the bank. Say you go to the bank.
We're not talking about I'm not depositing anything into the bank, but you're telling me that I don't even fuck with a bank. But you're telling me that I put something in there and there is some inequity here. But
yeah, when you get taxed, it goes into a trust account.
Oh, that money.
So, yeah, well, and not only that, but evidently you don't understand that contract, that registration, all that's money.
Right. They've been selling on the stock exchange and
right.
shit. So yeah, it's probably is worth
That's money. Money is definitive paper form of commercial paper. Okay? That's all it is. When you take a definitive paper form and you hand it to a public official and they do this on an electronic keyboard and they enter those data elements in there, the system doesn't take the money. It doesn't take the paper. It takes the data elements, and that's a credit system. It's only giving credit to the data elements that were entered. It didn't take the paper.
Right. So
now on the other end, they can use an electronic transfer, which is like FedWire, and transfer an amount in credit digits to another account and then print it out. They can print it out as a money order, a check, or even dish out a receipt that says the teller handed them cash. So they can literally turn it back into money.
Right.
But there's a credit system there of unearned income credits, Social Security credits, all those kinds of credits that are still sitting there.
That credit is not mine anymore, though.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. It all derived from you and only you.
You are the full faith and credit. That you gotta, if you get that stuck in your mind, I mean, and there's plenty of ways to evidence that, but once you realize that, you realize you are what gives this everything the power.
Yeah, the full faith and credit of the United States is based on the people. They can't do anything in a trust form without guaranteeing the people a benefit. That's because the people are the ones that are supposed to guarantee that. If the people, you have a republic if you can keep it.
Mm-hmm.
That's our obligation. That's why I say these people in public service have a basic obligation of communication, because they are not the know-it-alls. There are people out there that do know their job, that are willing to fulfill that obligation, can explain to you what that obligation is. Not only that, but explain their obligation. Equity imputes an intent to fulfill an obligation. Equity acts in personam. In personam is the federal courts under common law, which is contract law. Therefore, Federal Rules of Civil Procedure Rule 2 says there is one form of action, civil. So if I want to be in association with them and bring equity, then I have to come peacefully and grant indemnification, which is basically immunity. That gives me equal consideration of foreign immunities, diplomatic immunities. I have to learn how to place those contract terms in the contract. It's a civil action. They're coming. Remember, they're coming with a personal action. The states are coming in rem, and I'm coming with a civil action, a contract.
You understand what he's talking about? I don't understand. I get about 50% of this. Yeah.
It's about learning how to make a contract to supersede the in rem subject matter jurisdiction of the state.
What does that even mean, Mars? What does that even mean?
So they have the right, presumably, to administrate the trust that was created for your benefit.
All right. And shut up, cat. I'm mute up, but I'm listening.
And so until you can show that they don't have that control, then they're going to just continue to presume that they have that control, you know, and what they're doing is fraud. So, I mean, I don't understand it and I can't explain it real well, but basically, if I had to try and explain it, what I would say is, you being the full faith and credit, you know, you go down to the bank, you extend that credit to the bank, so they cash in there, and then they get you to pay it back, so they cash in there again. And so really what you're doing is you're just balancing the ledger, so that way things aren't out of whack, and that's what's allowing them to basically run amok, is that we haven't brought balance to that ledger. And so that's all we're trying to do is use that system in a way that it was intended, and that way it won't be used against us.
He says I don't know if it was intended. What does that look like?
It looks like not letting these corrupt organizations, you know, these bankers and whatever, cash in on the estate or the trust that was created for our benefit. Because
how are they cashing it? Let's be specific.
Real
quick, please.
Real quick, I'll explain. But first, I want to thank Iman for being so patient. Greetings, sister. How you doing tonight?
All is well, brother. I was listening into what you were saying, and it's all about T-ledgering. There's two sides of an account. On a T-ledger, there's the debit side and there's the credit side. On the credit side, there will always going to be a decrease, and on the debit side, there's always going to be an increase. Is that not so, Keith?
It makes sense.
Yep.
Can you bump her mic up a little bit?
We've tried, brother.
Okay.
So what I want to speak on with relations to what Mitchell was talking there, we got to understand that when we're born, that enumeration at birth creates a burial trust. And you can find this in each of your states. So there's another trust aside from that public service, which is a public trust we were talking about. That's part of their public trust as a public servant, is to make sure that if anything happens to that little baby and mom is fatherless, the dad's run away and she's under the welfare system, the state will take care of that baby in all manners, even if it dies. So there's a burial trust. Okay.
Burial trust isn't only when it dies. As a trust that says we'll put you in the ground. Burial trust means all of the above, that I will make sure he's taken care of if his mom abandons him. That's part of the burial trust.
Yep. Foster parenting. Yeah. It's called loco parentis. State's property. All of it. I'm serious. It's a
Yeah, I
wicked.
guess you do. State property. It's
And
crazy.
so this is what we're talking about, is that when we find out that they've taken the definitive paper documents and entered them into a data element system that's keeping track and providing credits for the truthfulness of that record, we have to learn how to correct that record. And that's all we're doing. The correction of the record will show that I wasn't actually a resident and therefore not subject to the income taxes, because that's what resident determination in Iowa is for. Resident determination is for income tax purposes. Well, when we find out that I truly wasn't a federal or state or municipal officer or agent, then I couldn't qualify for that supposed classification of a taxpayer.
Wow.
And that's just on resident. United States citizen, did you know there's no birth registration in the United States, Joe?
Sure it is. Called a birth certificate.
No, that's a birth registration in the state. There is no birth registration in the United States.
You don't
Want me to
need
show you?
one if you just call all the damn states up and get their numbers. There's only
Okay.
50 of them.
Okay, so what's the United States citizen?
Anyone who falls under all 50. Every one of them.
No, isn't it say anybody that's born in the United States?
Yes.
Okay, so if you're born in the United States, but yet there's no record of being born in the United States, is there any other record of a United States citizen than somebody running around, running off with their mouth, saying they're a United States
my
citizen?
birth certificate says United States citizen. Yes, it does not say Illinois citizen. It says United States.
So that United
it's a
States,
fraud through the gate. Yeah.
did you know the United States business means a United States citizen?
The United States business means United States citizen. Well, then, if there's only citizens could be in D.C., then, and they or
well, it's a charter. It's a franchise. They conferred you the gift of a United States business. And you're signing in the capacity of running a business. That's why they say you have to have a license or an ID. That ID is a license as a trustee to take upon a suretyship.
Yeah.
On behalf of who?
I have no idea, man.
The state Social Security Administration. They're the ones that authorized you to give out that Social Security number and sign that card.
So it's these guys who all they do is assure that I'll get locked up for it. They don't really assure me. All right. You know,
See, that's why I say we have to learn this stuff so we can show how the tables have been flipped and show how we flip them back over.
Yes.
And again, that's what I'm hoping I'll be able to show here in the future.
All right, man.
Whether I'm successful in flipping it all the way over, or it topples over on top of me or whatever,
yeah.
You'll know.
Before I bail, anybody up here gonna talk besides me and Keith? Just curious, you know, kick in, motherfuckers. You cats come up here and you are the most silent motherfuckers on the planet. I'd like to benefit from your shit. Me and Keith been at it for 2 hours each. So I'm on your side.
I wanted to say in the States, I think they have it listed as proof of heirship. And you can pull up any information based on that trust. That's what I believe.
Heirship?
Proof of heirship.
Oh, heir, like an heir. Okay, all right. All right.
And that there, E, under definitions, E, used in this section, the term United States business means a United States citizen, can be found at 15 U.S.C. 4724.
All right, guys. Yvonne, catch you later.
You bet. And Joe, I hope you hear us. Join us next Sunday. We're going to be going over Contractual indemnification of government contractors. Contractual indemnification of government contractors. And this is what we're working on. I'd like to be able to indemnify these guys, but I can't if they refuse to communicate with me. That degrades the ability of the indemnification process itself and levies the debt on the United States at a grander scale, like Joe was saying. I agree totally. And with that, we are going to close out for tonight. What do you guys got on it?
The only thing I have, Brother Keith, is that I'm going to be checking out this code under 42 U.S. Code 1320 B like in Bravo -7.
Oh, income and eligibility verification system. Excellent, excellent. Let's pull it up real quick and take a peek. (42) U.S. Code 1320B7 Income and Eligibility Verification System. Requirement of state eligibility systems. In order to meet the requirements of this section, a state must have in effect an income eligibility verification system, which meets the requirements of subsection D, and under which the state shall require, as a condition of eligibility for benefits, under any program listed in subsection B, that each applicant for or recipient of benefits under that program furnish the state his Social Security account number, and the state shall utilize such account numbers in the administration of that program so as to enable the association of the records pertaining to the applicant or recipient with his account number. Interesting. Interesting. Such account numbers in the administration of that program so as to enable the association of the records at minimum state contacts pertaining to the applicant or recipient with his account number. And that record, that's at 20 CFR 402.103. Let me see what we got here. Let's see, is this it? Yeah. This is Social Security Act or Social Security Employee Benefits. Social Security Administration, Organization, and Procedures. Social Security Numbers, General. The Social Security Administration maintains a record of earnings protected or reported for each individual assigned a Social Security number. The individual's name and Social Security number identify the record. Nowhere does it identify the applicant or recipient. It only identifies the record. It does not identify the applicant or the recipient, the one that applied for the benefit and is supposed to receive the benefit. It's plain English, folks. Anything else, guys?
That's all for now, brother. I'm just gonna keep it moving. I'm keeping up as much as I'm not keeping up with the keep up, and all praises and blessings to the Most High.
Absolutely. We appreciate you, sister. Thanks for stopping up.
Yeah, I'll second that, and I'll be backing up to the beginning because I missed the first part. But
yeah, you like the first. Yeah, you like the first part. It's about Government Accountability Office and that communication and keeping the records true and accurate. So everything ties together, brother.
Yep. All right. Thank you so much. You know,
right.
I was just gonna say real quick. You know, if Joe's still listening, I don't know if this helps clarify anything, but I think what you're explaining is, you know, the Social Security, the people that have paid into the credit system, you know, that's that was an insurance, basically an insurance that was provided for them. And
Yep.
so,
And
you
like
know,
I
that,
said, the credits are already there. You can
yeah,
have them put in a private placement. That's what that full faith and credit is. It's got all them credits. All you got to do is gather them up. That's expenses incidental to transfer of title. Remember those? There's
yeah,
3 of them. One to the agency, one to the United States, and one to the United States Postal Service. That's who I think is supposed to hold that title.
interesting. All right,
All
thanks
right.
as always, man. Peace.
All right, you bet. Thanks, Mitch. And it looks like Russ dropped out. He usually has a little thing he says, be the change you wish to be. So remember that. And you guys know me. I love you, but I don't give a rat's ass whether you love me back. That's to say, I don't care if you hate me. I don't care if you don't respect me. That's on you. So may God bless you and have a good night. Bye now.
Always make sure